Hi everyone, and thanks for joining. Today I'm going to be making stained glass soap out of melt and pour. I'm using Crafter's Choice Extra Clear soap base to give this the stained glass look. After I did all of this, I realized that I used pretty much this whole block that they send you for the soap mold that I have. And each little cube is about 1 ounce. So I just kind of cut them up, and each cavity of the mold that I'm filling is close to 4 ounces. So you want to measure out 4 ounces for each cavity. I'm using a combination of several different types of colorants. I wanted to use the liquid colorants to see how they would look versus some micas. So you will notice a little bit of difference between the micas and the liquid colorants, and I tried a few different techniques and mixing some sort of techniques with the colorants, so you can see those as I go through the video. I'll show each color that I'm using and melting down for the mold. I used Caribbean Teakwood from Candle Science to Fragrances Soap, and each little section that I measured, I just put about 8 to 10 drops into the mixture, so I just kind of did that as I went along. And this is a soap mold that I used for this project. I believe I got it off of Amazon. You can find it pretty much anywhere online though. And I just wanted to make sure that I filled each one of these cavities as full as I could. So like I said, you're using about 4 ounces. I think each cavity is supposed to measure around 3.8 ounces. But you want them as full to the top as you possibly can get. So just make sure you're getting as much soap as you can in there, and it'll make sense as we go along while we're doing that. You'll notice that when I use the micas, I do like to add those before I actually melt down the soap base, just because it makes the mixing a little bit easier and it doesn't clump up as bad. That way I don't have to use extra things like rubbing alcohol. It's just the way that I like to do it. And I do want to remind you to make sure that in between each pour that you're making sure your mold is sprayed down with rubbing alcohol so that they pop out easy once the soap has dried. On this last color, I did want to try a different technique. I went ahead and mixed in the color, and then I also just put like a drop or two actually in the soap itself, so it would give that sort of stained glass textured look that some glass has, where it's kind of has a little design in it. I thought that would be neat. However, looking back on it, I don't think I would do that again, or I would just do it without actually coloring the base, because the colorant didn't stay suspended in the actual soap as it dried. It kind of just all went to the one area and pooled up. Next, I just went ahead and popped everything out of the mold, and I just wanted to show you really quick what they look like. And they're pretty translucent, so I was pretty happy with that. Once they dried for a few minutes outside of the mold, I went ahead and I cut down a little bit off of each side. And basically these are what I would consider like scraps or throwaway pieces. I'm going to save these pieces for another soap. I just wanted to make sure that we had enough room so that when we pour the stained glass outline, you would have enough room to kind of place the pieces into the mold. So I just kind of tried to measure them up as equally as I could so that all the pieces were pretty even. Once I got all the pieces cut down to the size I wanted, I went ahead and started laying everything out. I made sure I spritzed all the soap again with more rubbing alcohol so that it would stick together as I poured. And these have been sitting for a few hours since I've made the soap earlier this morning, so they're plenty dry, and we just want to make sure that all the soap sticks together. So I just went ahead and laid those out in a similar pattern and tried to make sure that the colors were distributed evenly so I would get a nice color palette. For the black outline, I went ahead and used a little bit of glitter mica from Nurtures, and then I also mixed it with the liquid colorant as well because I didn't think it was going to be dark enough, and I wanted to make sure that it looked like actual stained glass. So I just went ahead and mixed the colors together, and it came out the perfect color. Like I said earlier in the video, I kind of ended up using the rest of the soap base that I had for the black colorant, and I just went ahead and poured into each cavity slowly and tried to make sure that the soap that was placed in there didn't move too much, which I really didn't have a lot of problems with it because I was pouring slow. At this point, I'm pretty happy with the way that it looks in the soap mold, but when I actually popped it out, I noticed that the soaps were a little bit uneven, so I did want to take a knife and kind of shave them down a bit. If you have a planer, I'm sure this would work really well, and the bars of soap would actually even come out looking much cleaner. And this is my final product, and I really enjoyed this. I think I'll practice a little bit and cut some of the pieces just a little bit smaller so there's more black edge around each of the shapes, but overall I'm very pleased with how this turned out. And I want to thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this.